The rain had turned the hospital parking lot into a mirror when the ambulance doors slammed open. 32-year-old male, penetrating chest trauma, no pulse for 8 minutes. The paramedics rushed the stretcher through the emergency department, shouting numbers over the alarms. The man on the bed wore torn tactical gear. Blood covered his chest. His face was gray, his eyes closed, and a small American flag patch clung to his shoulder. Behind him came 4 men in soaked combat uniforms. One of them looked at the doctors and said, "He's a Navy SEAL. Do whatever it takes." Nobody noticed the quiet ER nurse standing beside the medication cart. Her name was Mara Voss. She was new, barely 3 weeks into the department, and most of the staff had already decided she was too timid for emergency medicine. Dr. Keller often called her Sunshine because, according to him, she looked terrified of everything. That night, he snapped, "Voss, stay out of the trauma bay unless I ask." Mara nodded. "Yes, doctor." A surgical nurse whispered. You'd think she had never seen blood before. Mara heard it. She said nothing. The SEAL on the table suddenly coughed. "Pulse," Keller shouted. "Nothing. Start compressions." The team moved instantly. 120 compressions a minute. Epinephrine, defibrillation, nothing again. Nothing. The monitor became a flat green line. Keller checked the clock. Time of death, 2:17. The 4 SEALs froze. The tallest one stepped forward. "No." Keller lowered his eyes. "I'm sorry." The man stared at his teammate. "His name is Chief Daniel Cross. He survived worse than this." Keller shook his head. "He's gone." Mara stood at the edge of the room. Then she noticed something nobody else had seen. The blood beneath Cross's shoulder was bubbling. Tiny bubbles. Regular. Mara stepped closer. "Doctor." Keller turned sharply. "What? His chest?" "I said he's dead. The blood is moving." Keller frowned. Mara pointed. "Not moving. Breathing." Everyone stared. For 1 second, nobody spoke. Then Mara grabbed a flashlight. "Turn him." Keller hesitated. "Why?" "Because there's an open chest wound." The nearest SEAL snapped. "Do it." They rolled Cross. Mara saw the wound. A fragment had entered beneath his shoulder blade and created a pressure trap inside his chest. "Tension pneumothorax," she said. Keller stared at her. "He has no pulse." "Because his heart is being compressed." "That's impossible." Mara looked directly at him. "Then let him die." Keller froze. The room exploded into motion. Needle decompression. Mara was already preparing the equipment. The needle went in. A violent hiss escaped the wound. The monitor flickered. 1 tiny heartbeat appeared. Then another. "Pulse!" someone screamed. The SEAL stepped forward. "Keep working," Mara shouted. Keller looked at her differently now. "Bag him." She did. Cross's oxygen level climbed. His heart rhythm returned. But he remained unconscious. The tallest SEAL stared at Mara. "You saved him." Mara shook her head. "Not yet." Suddenly, the trauma bay doors burst open. A second group of military personnel entered with a hospital security officer. A commander approached the SEALs. "Where is Lieutenant Commander Voss?" Mara stopped breathing. Keller looked around. "She isn't here." The commander's eyes moved through the room. Then they landed on Mara. He walked toward her. "You're Mara Voss?" She slowly nodded.
"Yes."
The commander looked at her left wrist. A black tattoo disappeared beneath her sleeve. His expression changed. "Show me." Mara pulled her sleeve down. The tattoo was a small black phoenix wrapped around a trident. The 4 SEALs stared. One whispered, "No way." Another stepped backward. The tallest man looked at Mara as if he had seen a ghost. "Phoenix." Mara said nothing. The commander saluted her. Every person in the trauma bay went silent. Keller stared. "You're military." Mara finally answered. "I used to be." The tallest SEAL stepped closer. "You were there in Kandahar." Mara's eyes hardened. "Yes." "You pulled 14 men out of that burning compound." She looked at Cross. 13. The SEAL swallowed. Daniel was the 14th. Mara's face changed. "You know them?" "He's my brother." The words hit her harder than the alarms. Mara looked down at Cross. "I thought he died that night." The SEAL shook his head. "He thought you died." A long silence followed. Then Cross suddenly opened his eyes. Everyone jumped. His lips moved. Mara leaned closer. He whispered one word, "Phoenix." Mara closed her eyes. The room seemed to disappear. 5 years earlier, she had been Lieutenant Commander Mara Voss, a Navy combat medic attached to a special operations unit. Her final mission had ended in fire. A building collapsed. She had stayed behind to save wounded soldiers. The official report said she was killed. But Mara had survived. She left the military afterward, carrying guilt instead of medals. She never told anyone. She believed the men she saved deserved to forget the woman who could not save everyone. Now Daniel Cross was awake, and he knew her. But before anyone could celebrate, Cross grabbed Mara's wrist. "Don't trust them." Mara stiffened. "Who?" Cross struggled to breathe. "The mission." The commander stepped closer. "Chief, you're safe." Cross shook his head. "No." He looked directly at Mara. "They came for you." The room went cold. Keller asked, "Who came for her?" Cross closed his eyes. The people who betrayed our unit. Mara's heart dropped. The commander reached for his radio. Every security door in the hospital suddenly locked. Then the lights went out. Emergency red lighting flooded the hallway. A gunshot echoed somewhere downstairs. The SEALs immediately moved into position. Keller stared at Mara. "You knew this could happen?" Mara shook her head. "No." Then another gunshot cracked through the building. The tallest SEAL handed Mara a sidearm. She pushed it away. "I'm a nurse." He stared at her. "No, ma'am." He glanced at the phoenix tattoo. "You're the reason half of us are alive." Mara looked toward the dark hallway. Then she remembered something. The tattoo was not only a symbol. Hidden inside the phoenix was a tiny sequence of numbers. An emergency code. She had never used it. Until tonight. Mara whispered the numbers. The commander immediately understood. "Those coordinates." She nodded. "They're not attacking the hospital." "Then what are they after?" The Mara looked at Cross. "They want whatever Daniel brought back." Cross reached beneath his blood-stained shirt and pulled out a small metal drive. The commander stared. "That was supposed to be destroyed." Cross smiled weakly. "It wasn't." Suddenly, footsteps thundered outside. The SEALs raised their weapons. Mara stepped between them and the trauma doors. Keller shouted, "Voss, get behind cover." She looked at him. "You told me to stay out of the trauma bay." Keller almost laughed despite the fear. "I was wrong." The doors exploded inward. 3 armed men rushed through. The SEALs dropped them within seconds. But the third man threw a grenade. Mara saw it roll beneath Cross's bed. She moved without thinking. She kicked it beneath the reinforced surgical cabinet and dragged Cross away. The blast shook the room. Glass shattered. Smoke filled the air. When it cleared, Mara was on her knees. Her arm was bleeding. Cross looked at her. "You always did that." "What?" "Saved everyone except yourself." Mara smiled through tears. "Someone had to." Cross reached for her hand. "You came back." She squeezed his fingers. "So did you." By sunrise, the attackers were gone, the hospital was secure, and Daniel Cross was alive. The commander stood before the medical staff. "Last night, you saw a nurse." He looked at Mara. "You should know you were standing beside one of the finest combat medics this country ever produced." Keller stepped forward. "I owe you an apology." Mara shook her head. "Just remember, the next quiet nurse might know exactly what she's doing." Keller smiled. "I will." Weeks later, Daniel walked out of the hospital. His squad waited outside. Mara stood behind the glass. Cross turned before leaving. He raised his hand in salute. Mara returned it. Daniel later told Mara what happened that night in Kandahar. He had seen her disappear beneath the collapsing roof, but he never accepted the report that she was dead. For 5 years, he carried the name on a photograph inside his uniform. Now he understood why his heart had kept fighting. Beneath the pain, he had known she was out there. Mara cried, not from weakness but from relief. For the first time, surviving did not feel like punishment. It felt like permission to live. For years, she had believed her story ended in that burning compound. But sometimes heroes do not return with medals. Sometimes they return wearing scrubs. Sometimes they save a man everyone else has already declared dead. And sometimes, after surviving the fire, they finally discover they were never forgotten. If this story touched your heart, subscribe for more unforgettable stories of courage, sacrifice, and second chances. Because somewhere tonight, another quiet hero may be standing in the shadows, waiting for someone to believe in them.